Welcome to Today in Esports, where you get to know all of the information and the know-all of what's happening across the globe for esports. What's happening in Call of Duty? The Surge are starting to heat things up. Optic are really fighting just to keep their team alive. Meanwhile, League of Legends is ramping up. Playoffs are upon us, but the LEC, it's now crunch time. We have epic showdowns happening across the European nation, but we're saving the best for last. VCT, Masters Bangkok. We have all of that and more coming your way right now. My name is Andy. Join with me is Chris, and we got a lot to get into. How you doing today, Chris?
I'm doing great. As you said, a lot of great matches from over the weekend. I can't wait to jump into them. Let's get to it.
Yep, let's get on into it. Starting off with some Call of Duty, the minor tournament just concluded this past weekend. Big stakes were on the line. Let's get on into it. The minor is a single elimination tournament that happens amidst the Major 2 qualifiers that puts more stakes on the table for the CDL teams to fight over. That includes both prize pool and CDL points, which are quite integral for their success in seeding, let alone making it to the CDL champs at the end of the season. This game of the minor went the absolute distance, and it was an absolute slugfest in between the Miami Heretics and the Los Angeles Gorilla Mates. Game 1 was on Skyline Hardpoint, where Miami were able to win 250 to 170. It both housed a lot of good bright moments for the LAG team, where Kismet was able to drop a lot of good bright spots, but Miami still closed out the map 1 win. 6-2 for the Protocol Search and Destroy saw a really good spot for the LAG team, where Linz really was able to come to life all the way down to the round 5, where it took LAG a total of 20 seconds to win. Game 3 went to Vault Control, where LAG were also able to eke out the round 5 win with a War of Attrition, where the hardpoint in map 4 claimed to be the Heretics' territory, where they won 250 to 146. Metals went huge with a 6 spree on this map to take an early lead, and Miami were able to force a Game 5. However, the Nesla was complete with a 6-4 win on the Red Card Search and Destroy for the LAG team, and it's their first Map 5 win of the season. You'd have to imagine two teams that have played the most Map 5s the entire season would have a Map 5 in the first series of the minor. Sure, this had a round 6 where Lucky was able to get 3 to tie the map up to 3 apiece going into round 7, where Kismet was then able to crawl and hit a nasty flank to be able to win a round. Lucky and Real proved to be a very forceful duo where they were able to win a 2v3, making it 4-5, but it concluded in round 10 where LAG finally break their map 5 curse. It's not the only thing we had on the first day of the Minor 2 tournament. We also had the all-eyes-on matchup between Optic Texas versus the Las Vegas Falcons. Yeah, you heard me right. Optic were in a must-win for their entire season. They walked into the series 0-9 in map count during the Major 2 qualifiers, post-roster change, bringing Fred back in for Hoop. You'd imagine this to be unacceptable for a team that just won the World Championship last season, and a loss here would put them in a blow-it-up territory. Map 1 was on Skyline, where Optic were able to win 250 to 191. Falcons were in control just to about the halfway point of this map, and then Optic took firm grips of the Hordes. 6-5 was the Red Card Search and Destroy around 11. Got real scary. Falcons did surely have the chance to win this map. It was close all the way through, and they went up early 5-4, but Optic won the back 2 rounds after tying it up 5-5. Round 11 came down to a 1v1 where Kenny was picking up the frag against a weak Exnid, and it was a massive moment for Kenny in their recent struggles statistically in the game mode to showcase this icy moment. Game 3 went to Vault for the Control, where the Falcons were able to win 3-0, and it's their first 3-0 of the season. In round 2 of Control, Kenny got absolutely turned on real bad. It was probably the karma from the 1v1 win in the round 11 the map previously. This was a good moment for the Falcons, albeit hoping to build momentum, but we'd expect Optic to drop at least one map during this series in their struggling times, maybe not this dramatically though. Game 4 would be the conclusion of this series, where Optic were able to win 250 to 102 on the Red Card Hardpoint. This also had a very funny moment where Pred did take one of the Falcons members hostage, and Lord only knows what he whispered to him. And on the second day of the minor, Vancouver gave to you Surge, now besting FaZe 2 times within a month's period. They have beat them not only in the Major 2 qualifiers 3-1, but they also were able to win in a map 5. Starting off with the round 1, where they only lost by about 30-ish points, 241 to 202 on Vault Hardpoint. The game clock ran out. The game had everything, including Neptune dropping 40-plus eliminations for a loss. Round 11, map 2 had the Vancouver Surge winning. Surge were up 4-2 and almost threw this map away. Round 2, Neptune wins a massive 1v2 for the round win, while also turning on Draza pretty badly. Round 4 had Neptune winning 1v1 against Draza once again, but round 11, Neptune again gets picked mid across the scoop, uses his movement to stay alive, and then long enough, he allows Nasty to get in a better position to pick up the final kill and Surge tie up the series. We then go over towards a protocol control where FaZe just get the dirty work done, and they win 3-0. Even round 2 of control, Draza got his get back alongside of BZ to win a clutch 2v4 for the round win. In Game 4, we went to Hacienda, where the Surge were able to win 250 to 172. The Surge were able to just shut down FaZe, while FaZe kept it close, but Surge were just the better team, where Abusa was just absolutely abusing the entirety of these longer lines of sight, including some head glitches, with a map 4 spree. Game 5 went over towards a protocol search and destroy, where Surge were able to go up again early in the search and destroy 4-2, and FaZe, albeit bringing back to 4-4, Surge were still able to win. And this is monumental just because FaZe are not only just the Major 1 champions, but are the so-called best in the game. Surge just recently adding Neptune, dropping Hixie, making massive waves, pun intended, with the CDL community. On to Championship Sunday, LA Thieves versus the Ravens. LA Thieves win the series in 3, clearly stating that LA Thieves are just the better team than the Carolina Royal Ravens at this moment in time. The Ball Hardpoint map 1 was a 250 to 165, albeit Ravens did get a perfect P4 hold, getting every possible second of hill time. LA Thieves did close out map 1 in a dominant performance, and the scoreline will represent that. Map 2 did go round 11, where Ravens at one point were up 5-2, and it looked like they would even win the series outright. LA Thieves would win 4 rounds in a row to close out the map 2 on Hacienda. Game 3 was decisive, albeit a few bright moments for the Ravens. It was a 3-0 finish, both in the series and on the Hacienda control. Round 1 was the only round that the Ravens really had a chance to win. I mean, LA Thieves show why they are a top 2 team in the league ultimately. But in that round 3, LA Thieves close out the map and the series, their grand finals bout. Which moves over to the ever so growing conversation of the Vancouver Surge. They're going up against the Toronto Ultra. Surge did win this 3-0, but Surge have never been looking like a top 2 team all event until this moment of time. Neptune and Nasty are really starting to piece things together. 250 to 226 in the vault hardpoint. Surge had a perfect, almost full 60 P4, tying up the game early, while Surge are closing out the map 1 in a 24-point win. Game 2 went towards round 10, where Abusa and Nasty win a massive 2v2 to take round 1, and they continue that momentum ever since then. Round 5, Ultra were able to push in towards the A site and force fights alongside Joe Deceives and Beans to be able to win that round. But round 6, Neptune, you felt like the momentum was on their side for the Championship Sunday, gets 3 for the round win, and then that sets up the round 10 win. Game 3 was a 3-0 for protocol control in the Surge's favor. It was a very dominant map win, where round 2, 0-4 goes on a massive 6 win. This sets up our grand finals, the LA Thieves versus the Vancouver Surge. Thieves were able to win 4-3. The series was so back and forth, but Surge winning that game 1, LA Thieves taking the 2 and 3, almost a super duper Neslo out of them. Surge really kept things competitive. It was a 250 to 187 Hacienda map 1, which set the Surge up wonderfully. Abusa went and dropped 35 kills with 25 assists to have an impressive 1.4 KD. Has helped out Nasty get an amazing 6-3 on rotation, but ultimately the team was just looking pretty nice. Game 2 went to a round 11 where LA Thieves were able to win. Gosi went massive. He won a massive 1v3, and this also helped out Hydra to be able to feel the confidence for a nice little ninja defuse. LAT forced map 2 all the way to round 11, and they ultimately walked away with it. Game 3 was a 3-0 on ball control. LA Thieves just clearly showcasing why they are the #1 control team in the game. They were quite decisive, and this is the best that Envoy ultimately has looked all season long, arguably. Dropped 33 kills, holding an insane 1.94 KD. This put LA Thieves up 2-1 in the series, which put Surge on the back burner. They had to win the ball hardpoint, and they did by 13 points. It was a close, intense game. Envoy and LAT did not have a great time, having a terrible 0.58 KD overall for Dylan. Surge would make a massive comeback with an insane finish to win the map, tying it 2-2. which sets up the red card hardpoint where the Surge were able to win the only objective map mode combination they were able to win in this best of 7. 0-4 and Abusa were undeniable. It would be some very close rounds, were back and forth, but Envoy again would struggle in this matchup, only getting 3 kills and having a horrible 0.3 KDA. This puts them 3-2 in the series. Surge are up now. But into the Hacienda Control, LA Thieves, again, are the #1 control team for a reason. Envoy, off of those past 2 maps, has finally awoken, and he gets a massive get going in the 3-0 win with a 19-kill dub. LAT would dominate this map, winning at 3-0 with almost all members having a positive KD, only Scrap having a negative KD if you really want to go for the stretching, low, grasping fruit. Surge did struggle to beat LA Thieves in their aggression. To be quite frank, they were just running at them, and they were winning every single gunfight, which sets up the Game 7, a 6-3 on the Skyline Search and Destroy that the LA Thieves were able to win. It was a back-to-back grand finals for LA Thieves where they did go Game 7, but as I stated, this one ended in 9. Surge looked like they were going to win it early, but LA Thieves' aggressiveness dominated in the later half. Hydra really started to come into their own, and Ghosty and his play calling was undeniable. LA Thieves won 5 in a row. Envoy dropped 12 kills with a 2.0 KD in the map 7 to win the series. Surge retaking it, albeit early, they set themselves up wonderfully. LA Thieves, though, with that 2v4 win in round 8, you felt like you're never going to come back from that. LA Thieves, congratulations, they win Minor 2. But Vancouver gave them a real fight for the grand finals there at the end. Tons of different storylines to think of as we gear up for Major 2 qualifiers. They're going to be continuing as weeks to come. Are Optic going to make a change? Are Vancouver a top 2 team in the game? Are Atlanta FaZe washed? I don't know. I'm just excited for more qualifier action to get underway.
Let's take a look at the ESL Counter-Strike League. The Pro League 21 is kicking off on Saturday, March the 1st. Let's go ahead and take a look at some of those games.
Then jumping over to Heroic versus Saw. Heroic would take on Saw and lose, unfortunately, 2-1. In Game 1, Heroic would take the victory on Dust 2, winning 13-9. Going into Game 2, however, on Train, Saw would win 13-9. Saw then carried this momentum into Game 3 on Ancient, where they would win 13-10, securing victory of the series.
MIBR versus Nigma. MIBR took on Nigma and won the series 2-1 in Game 1. MIBR beat Nigma Gaming 12-7 on Anubis. Nigma would fight back though and take the victory on Inferno 13-6. MIBR would come back in Game 3 to win 13-8 on Mirage to secure the victory of the series.
Gamer Legion versus NRG. Had Gamer Legion would win the series 2-1 against the NRG roster. Game 1 started off rough though for Gamer Legion as they lost 5-13 against NRG on Train. Going into Game 2, Gamer Legion would bounce back and win 13-9 on Inferno. Game 3 was close, but Gamer Legion would eke out the win 13-10 on Mirage. Then jumping into Saw versus Furia. Saw would face off against Furia in some close matches, but eventually won the series 2-1. They would win Game 1 in a close map, 13-11 on Anubis. Furia would follow up with a win on their own in a Game 2, 13-3 on Dust 2. In Game 3, Saw was able to pull off the win 13-9 on Inferno to secure the series dub.
For the upcoming matches happening, actually at the time of this recording, we will see FlyQuest versus Pain Gaming and so many others competing. Make sure to tune in on Thursday to see those matches.
Luminosity Gaming is kicking off their annual Rising Star Challenge. It's an annual competition to win a contract with LG for $100,000 and work with some of the biggest names in our industry.
Names like Elgato, Cash App, Juvie, and many more are joining in on this great opportunity, but you only have until March 7th to sign up, so make sure you either check the tweet or the link below to sign up for your application.
Pro orgs are starting to jump into the hottest game on Steam at this point in time, and that's Marvel Rivals. Of course, NetEase are laying down the foundation for an esports league, and everyone from casual players and some of the biggest organizations are starting to take notice.
Virtus Pro, Fnatic, OG, and many more orgs are jumping on this opportunity, not to mention big names and content creators like Shroud and Nashot are setting up support for this fabulous game, so it's looking pretty cool, so make sure you join in.
Last weekend, they started their invitational, and we will continue to follow more as it develops, but we have high hopes for this game, so we are looking forward to covering it as it continues.
The first ever government-funded national teams in esports is the Mongols. The CS2 team's recent international success has been recognized by the government for national achievement.
As a result, they will be given state-funded salaries, travel support, and special visa access in their efforts in support for their World Championship aspirations.
It's not every day at the highest level in a match of professionals that you'll see something like this.
This isn't even that. They're literally just chilling. Is that a nuke?
Yep.
Is that a nuke?
Yep. We got a nuke coming. Someone hit up Bobby in buckets. We got a nuke in SPS. Bang. Okay, Markuda. I mean, you talk about calling game. I mean, I'm just, that's kind of nuts. Is that the first nuke that you've casted in Call of Duty Mobile? Because it's not the first one I've casted.
I don't think I've ever seen one. Like, I think we might have seen like one.
Wow, that voice sounded eerily familiar. Of course, shout out Markuda for the clip. We don't normally get to see something so cool like this played throughout the SPS seasonal stage for Call of Duty Mobile. Now shifting our focus over towards League of Legends. There were multiple matches that happened across the LEC to choose the representative for First Stand while also claiming the champion spot for the LEC. But let's jump on into Fnatic versus KOI to start.
Both Fnatic and Koi would look to start their lower bracket run with a win to face KC and a chance to make it to the LEC playoff finals. Game 1 would be a back and forth game with Koi taking advantage from the mid into late game with a massive team fight in the 33rd minute. The game would look all but won for Koi after they got a quad kill on FNC. After pushing down the middle to end the game, a good stall from Fnatic's support would allow the remaining members to come back and defend their Nexus. After wiping Koi, they would then take the Baron plus Hex Drake Soul. Using this momentum, they would find a couple of picks onto Koi, push mid lane, and win game number 1. In game number 2, Koi would come out strong, but Fnatic would catch back up quickly while taking teamfights in the mid-game. A teamfight on the 3rd Drake, Fnatic would find multiple picks on Koi, giving them numerous shutdowns and the 3rd Drake of the game. In the 25th minute, an extended teamfight took place on the 4th Drake. Although Koi came out ahead at the start, it would be Fnatic who cleaned up the rest of the kills and secured the Drake Soul. Taking advantage of the death timers, Fnatic would take both Baron and Otacon buff, allowing them to push into Koi's base and win game number 2. In game 3, Koi would finally find their footing, once again finding success in the early game, finding multiple picks onto Fnatic. This time Koi would be able to carry their early game lead into the mid game with successful teamfights. Koi would win game number 3, only dropping 1 kill and keeping their playoff dreams alive, forcing to game number 4. In an even game number 4, Fnatic would finally break the stalemate after getting 2 kills to 1 in a successful 5v5 teamfight on the Grubs. They would then find picks on Koi's and dominate the map, growing their lead. Following the theme of the game, a pick on Koi's mid laner would allow Fnatic to take Baron, giving Fnatic the confidence to try and push the lane to end the game. After a push down both bot and mid lane, Koi would successfully defend their inhibitors during a failed over-aggressive push by Fnatic. In a split fight in the top lane and the bottom of Koi's jungle, Fnatic would get multiple kills to gain the advantage on Koi. With the base already open, Fnatic would push down the mid and win game number 4 to face Karmine Corp in the lower round match number 4. Game 1 between Karmine Corp and Fnatic would start off even, with both teams finding individual picks on each other until a team fight on the 3rd Drake where Karmine Corp would find 3 kills on Fnatic despite losing the Drake. These kills would give Karmine Corp the momentum to lead into the mid-game. After taking the Mountain Drake Soul, Fnatic would have trouble finding kills onto Karmine Corp, allowing Karmine Corp to take a Baron and continue to grow their lead. Unable to find a way back into the game, Fnatic would take a fight on Elder Drake, where Karmine Corp will find 3 kills. Although Karmine Corp would push down bot lane to take the inhibitor, they would turn back to take the Elder Drake buff. With the Elder Drake buff, Karmine Corp would then push down mid to end game 1. Fnatic came into game 2 undeterred by their loss in game 1, finding a double kill in the bot lane. They would then keep the pressure on Karmine Corp's bot lane with multiple picks during a successful tower dive. Karmine Corp would finally find their way back into the game on the 2nd Drake, where they used their numbers advantage to get 3 kills on Fnatic and take the 2nd Drake. Karmine Corp's mid laner Vladdy would continue to terrorize Fnatic by getting multiple picks during the team fights. Fnatic would battle back, finding an ace in the mid lane and putting them back into the game. Unable to end the game though, Karmine Corp would find a game-ending fight after Fnatic started Baron, After acing Fnatic, they would then push mid and end game number 2, putting them one win away from the grand finals. With their playoff life on the line, Fnatic once again found success in the bot lane by finding picks onto Karmine Corp's bottom lane. AD carry and support this time, Fnatic would keep their lead going into the mid game and outplay Karmine Corp in the top lane teamfight. To keep growing their momentum, they would take Otacon buff, and after finding 4 kills in the 34th minute, Fnatic would find an opening to end game number 3. Game 4 would stay fairly even in the early game after Karmine Corp got an early first blood. The stalemate would finally break after Fnatic found a triple kill in the river, allowing them to get the Otacon buff. Karmine Corp smartly waited for the Otacon buff to expire and take a close fight at the Dragon, although they lost 3 members. Karmine Corp would smartly wait for the Otacon buff to fire and take a close fight at the Drake. Although they lost 3 members, Karmine would kill 4 members of Fnatic with top laner Kana triple kill to win the team fight. After taking Baron, Fnatic would then turn their attention to the Hextech Dragon Soul, forcing Karmine into a game-winning team fight. Let's take a look at that fight here.
In their sights, but he manages to steal it, crucially denying the Hextech Soul, but the instant follow-up is there. Fnatic still finding the fight, still finding the angles. KC by themselves a bit of time by taking the objective, but yet going golden. Knowing that it's silver, scrapes right around the corner, a freeze frame for upsetting Kana as he gets run down, a TP into the mid lane. Fnatic on the cusp of the reverse sweep.
In game number 5, Karmine Corp would strike first after Fnatic misjudged an early mid lane teamfight. They would continue to dominate the early game of picks and extend their lead. In the mid game, Karmine Corp would continue their dominance and force Fnatic into more unfavorable fights around the Otacon, giving them the full advantage of the map. With the Otacon buff, Karmine Corp would step on the gas and push down the bot lane. After finding 3 kills, they would then put it into Fnatic's face to end the game and have another chance to face G2 in the grand finals. On Championship Sunday, KC bowed their way back into the grand finals after a loss to G2 in the upper bracket earlier this week. A lot is at stake for both teams, as not only does the winner get crowned the winner split champion, but they will also represent EMEA in the first stand tournament. With so much on the line, game 1 would start slow with G2 finding first blood in the 10-minute mark after G2's AD carry, Hansama, shot a global ult to snipe from the bot lane. Mid-game, both teams would continue to stay even, with most of the fights ending in even trades between both teams. Karmine Corp would start to pull away after a series of picks on G2's over-aggression, allowing them to get multiple kills. A triple kill in the 28th minute would allow Karmine Corp to get the Infernal Drake Soul and the Baron buff. Despite a good Elder Drake buff steal from G2's jungler, Karmine Corp would ace G2, push down the bot lane, taking advantage of G2's death timers to end game number 1. Both teams would start game 2 with simultaneous tower dives in both teams' bot and top lanes. Karmine Corp though would come out on top with 2 kills to 1. In the mid-game, KC's mid laner Vladdy would narrowly avoid a G2 1v1, which led to a great outplay from KC's jungler and support. In the mid-game, KC's mid would narrowly avoid death in a 1v1 with G2's mid laner, which led to a great outplay from KC's jungler and support after multiple members from both teams made their way mid. G2 would find their way back into the game after getting a double kill in the top lane and taking the tower, which led to their first kill of the game. KC's jungler would find a clutch kill onto G2 support, giving them the advantage to take the Drake Soul. Capitalizing on the teamfight success around Drake, KC would start the Elder Drake later in the game, forcing G2 into a fight which gave them 2 kills and the Elder buff. With the Elder buff, KC would take Baron, walk into G2's base, and end the game. In game number 3, Karmine Corp would continue their momentum after finding first blood onto G2 support, catching them out in the 5th minute. Much like game number 2, G2 would start trading kills with KC, trying to find their way back into the series. Karmine Corp's top laner Kana though would deny any hope for G2 after a sneaky flank into a massive Mega Gnar 5-man ult, giving Vladdy a triple kill at the 3rd dragon. Let's take a look at that play here.
That's a great flank position here, but let's see, because Dragon's not done yet. Great ulti from Yike as well. Death sentence on the Dragon, but it's again the Smite King of Winter.
KC would take this momentum to take the Audicon buff, although G2 would get withdrawals on KC's Vladdy. 4 of them would get killed by the remaining members of Karmine Corps when they came to help out their mid laner. Trying to find a way back into the game by scouting out the Drake, G2 would get caught out trying to ward, and an ace by Karmine Corp would mark the end of G2's hopes as they walked into G2's base and closed out the series in a dominating 3 games. With their win, Karmine Corps are crowned the LEC's Winter Split champions and will represent EMEA in the first day of tournament. That concludes our League of Legends segment. Let's go ahead and take a look at VCT's Master Bangkok.
Thank you so much, Chris. That's super fun. Everything that we happened for LEC, I'm super stoked at what's going to be happening for First Stand. But over towards Masters Bangkok, yes, VCT has kicked off and it concluded this past weekend. Let's jump on into everything that we missed and what happened there at VCT Masters Bangkok. Edward Gaming versus T1 was the first series for the weekend. It kicked off playoffs for the Chinese top seed Edward Gaming squaring off against Pacific's second seed T1 in a 3-game thriller. Game 1 on Split felt like an absolute clinic by EDG. They roared out of the gate, winning 10 straight rounds to leave T1 reeling. Chichu and Kang Kang were unstoppable, racking up 46 kills combined. T1 clawed back with 5 straight rounds late, but EDG slammed the door shut, completing the 13-7 win.
Game 2, T1 set out to flip the script. T1 struck back, starting out on their terms. The first half was reasonably close, with the rounds ending 7-5. It was a seesaw battle until round 10, when Izu turned on the Jets, posting a jaw-dropping 2.0 KDA to lead T1's 8-round surge to help them grind out a 13-6 victory.
Game 3 was an absolute nail-biter. Both squads traded blows early, but EDG's Chichu had to remind us that they are the defending champs. He rose above the chaos with 32 kills, 10 assists. It wasn't pure dominance, but it was scrappy enough, and EDG sealed a 13-11 win. EDG moves on in the upper bracket, while T1 drops to the lower bracket in hopes of redemption later.
Next up, we have Team Vitality versus G2. EMEA's top seed Team Vitality took on America's powerhouse G2, and folks, it started off as a brawl. Game 1 on Vine went into overtime after G2 snatched the last 4 rounds to force a tie. In overtime, it was all G2. Leaf was a one-man wrecking crew, dropping 28 kills and 19 assists in a 15-13 round slugfest to take the series lead.
Puts him to bed, puts him to rest. Bind is theirs.
Jorg is so excited at the end that he throws a drink all over Trent's lap. They can't believe what they've done. What a blow. What a sick opening blow for G2.
Game 2 was all G2's map on Lotus, and it was just that way as they jumped to a 6-1 lead very quickly, but Vitality roared on back with 5 straight rounds. After the side switch, G2 locked in. Leaf again with 24 kills and a solid 194 average damage per round. G2 then close out a 13-8 win, sweeping the series in a 2-0 dub and punching their ticket to face EDG in the upper bracket.
The first team to be able to take down
Vitality, however, they're headed to the lower bracket with a chip on their shoulder to then take on T1. The upper bracket final is what we had up next, and it was between EDG versus G2. 2 different Titans on 2 different sides of the planet. EDG versus G2, the Macro Masters versus Raw Slaying Power, and not to mention a grand final spot on the line. Game 1 on Lotus started tight, with EDG up 4-2 early, but G2 flipped the switch. 11 rounds to EDG's 4 down the stretch. EDG's Smoggy battled valiantly with the highest ADR, but G2's teamwork was too much, cruising to a 13-8 win.
In Game 2 on Split, EDG came out swinging, leading 4-3 early. But G2 said not today, as Jagamo took over, dropping 21 kills in a 7-round tear that crushed EDG's hopes. G2 sealed it 13-7, locking in a 2-0 series win and a grand finals berth. EDG slides into the lower bracket, 1 step from elimination. Let's go ahead and take a look at the lower bracket and start off with T1 versus Vitality. Speaking of elimination, down in the lower bracket, it was do or die for T1 and Vitality. Game 1 on Lotus was wild. T1 stormed to a 7-0 start and led 8-4 at the half. But Vitality wasn't done, ripping off 6 straight rounds to force an overtime. In the clutch, Vitality held firm, winning 2 quick overtime rounds for a 14-12 victory and a 1-0 series lead.
Game 2 then brought us over to Haven. T1 looked to answer back. They grabbed a 4-0 lead, and despite Vitality keeping it close, T1 led 8-4 at the side swap. Second half, then total domination. T1 dropped just one round with Izu and Buzz lighting up the scoreboard. A 13-4 blowout tied up the series at 1 apiece.
Game 3, and man did it feel like it was T1's time to shine. They owned the first half 9-3 and kept the pedal down, dropping only 2 more rounds. The final score 13-5, T1 takes the series 2-1 and marches on to face EDG in the lower bracket finals. While Vitality's Masters run comes to an end, Izu on T1 went 17-7-6 when it mattered most. Would this be the start of a crazy run for them?
The only one, and he cannot get it done! 13-5! T1 earned their position in the lower final! A rematch versus EDG tomorrow!
Valorant VCT Masters Bangkok playoff reached a fever pitch as T1 attempted to claw their way through the lower bracket fully into a grand finals matchup versus G2. Or would the defending champs EDG remind us that the world runs through China when it comes to Valorant? Let's break it on down, starting with T1 seeking a revenge run, starting with Edward Gaming. T1 came into the series hungry for a payback win after EDG knocked them down earlier in the playoffs. Game 1 on Split started to look like a T1 masterclass. They ripped off 7 straight rounds to start, and from there it fell over. The lead to a crushing EDG 13-4. Meteor was a force of nature, dropping 24 kills with a monstrous 241 ADR to set the tone in the series.
He's trying! Simon's trying, but trying is not enough! Map 1, like a dagger to the heart of EDG.
Game 2 flipped the script. EDG stormed out of the gates after losing the pistol round. They anti-ecoed and rolled 4 straight rounds. On round 8, Kang had a huge 1v3 to keep EDG rolling right through the first half. But Buzz was looking tougher, not only able to win a 1v1 teamfight for the ace to end the half, but T1 flipped the switch on offense. They dropped just 2 rounds in the second half. Buzz and Izu matched EDG's pressure, securing a 13-10 win to go up 2-0. EDG started to look vulnerable, but they are the champions for a reason, and it is a best of 5.
Game 3, with elimination looming, EDG roared on back. They led after the first half, but T1 kept it close. Late in the game, EDG led 11-8 until T1 stormed on back to match point at 12-11. EDG forced overtime, then clutched 2 straight rounds for a 14-12 win. Chichu and crew weren't going down quietly. They lived to fight another map.
Game 4, will T1 say enough, or will EDG mount the comeback? It felt like it was all on the pistol round. T1 clutched it up. There was a glimmer of hope in round 3. Smoggy hits a 3K in a clutch 1v1, but from there it was a consistent roll in favor of T1. Round number 7, Izu hits a 4K, and then 2 rounds later, Straps gets a 2v1. EDG Smoggy did have 21 kills, but it couldn't help but save them. T1's full roster click, and they all hit double-digit kills. T1 win the series 3-1 and punch their tickets to the grand finals against G2.
Coming true! T1 are going to the finals!
T1's miracle lower bracket run as Pacific's 2nd seed brought them face-to-face with the America's juggernaut G2 in a best-of-5 grand finals that will go down as one for the ages. David versus Goliath is what it felt like it was going on, but the crowd felt very determined to will T1 to a win.
Game 1 on Lotus started off wild with a 1v1 in the pistol round with Buzz versus Lee. T1 will win the pistol round, but G2 anti-ecoed and turned the pressure back onto T1. From there, it was all G2. Trent with a massive 1v3 in round 4 would continue to put the pressure onto T1. Although T1 Meteor answered back with 4K himself, that was the last whimper from T1 in map 1. Leaf unleashed 21 kills, Trent topped the charts with a 213 ADR, and T1 couldn't crack G2's ironclad offense or defense. A 13-5 statement put G2 up 1-0.
So we're all thinking G2 are going to win this quick, right? But hoping T1 will somehow wake up After losing the pistol and then a round after, it goes down to a 1v1, and T1's Izu gets it done, and it keeps T1 in the fight, at least for now. G2 would lead 4-1 early, but T1 got their credits on track and tied the map 6-6 at the half, powered by Meteor's 230 ADR. In the second half, T1 continued turning the tables. Buzz and Sylvan combined for 37 eliminations, and their teamwork shredded through G2's raw aggression. From an 8-8 tie, it rolled into a big round 19 that had Izu coming up huge, killing Trent and Valen in a T1 roll-through and 13-19 win, tying up the series 1 apiece. This is the fight we were expecting.
Game 3 saw T1's duelist comp dominate early, winning 6 straight rounds. A few clutches were required from Sullivan and Strax, with each getting a 2v1 to secure the first 6 rounds. These clutch plays had G2 on the ropes, but they battled back to an 8-4 at the half. Second half, T1 clawed within 11-8, then Jargomo's 1v4 ace flipped the script. It felt like all the wind was ripped from T1's sails. That spark fueled G2 to a 13-11 win, taking a 2-1 series lead.
Game 4 was a roller coaster of defensive stands. T1 grabbed the first 2 rounds, but Giacomo's clutch in round 3 sparked a 7-round G2 run to make an 8-4 first half for G2. T1 then answered with a 6-round streak of their own, capped off by a 1v3 ace on the back of Meteor. G2 would get a 3 clutch offensive rounds to send it to overtime. A 1v1 in the round 26, Valen versus Meteor. 1 bullet away from Masters champs. G2 falls just short, and T1 would rip 2 back, and we go to Game 5. Meteor's 30 kills and 202 ADR shined a bright light on T1 as they edged it out 15-13, tying up the series 2 apiece.
Smoke, and he goes down! 15-13! Strap in, ladies and gentlemen! This series, it is not over yet!
Game 5, title on the line, T1 jumped to a 4-0 lead on the back of an insane 1v3 by Sylvan. But G2's defense locked in, pulling it back to an 8-4 at the half. Second half, G2's retakers and rotations pushed them down deep into the lead. Strax in round 21 saved the comeback with a miracle kill at the end. 2 match points for G2 and T1 hold them both, sending it to overtime. 6 rounds of back and forth chaos ended with T1's Killjoy ult sealing the deal. The final score, 14-12, T1 completes the miracle run, toppling G2 3-2 in the grand finals to claim the VCT Masters Bangkok crown.
16-14, the uncrowned kings of a forgotten throne are at long last anointed.
From complete underdogs to Valorant champions, T1 make the miracle run happen, getting through Vitality, Edward Gaming, and then G2 in the grand finals. Masters Bangkok 2025 belongs to them. Congratulations to T1.
It's gonna be a GG go next, but for T1, they will lift that trophy to the elation of this crowd as they kick off 2025. Not the best team in Korea, but the best team in the world.
And that concludes our first episode of Today in Esports. Hope you enjoyed our breakdown of everything we thought was important through this past weekend for esports. But did we miss anything? Let us know in the comments down below. And make sure you subscribe so that way you can follow through on everything we do here on the channel, including this upcoming Thursday, breaking down everything to get ready for the upcoming weekend. Y'all have a good week, stay safe, and enjoy the competitions.